Happy 513 Day, Cincinnati and Dayton. As Dayton used to be in the area code until 1996, celebrate your 513 Day with a listen to the local Cinday Sports Podcast. This is the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast with Lee W. Mowen, a weekly audio podcast that covers everything sports in the Dayton and Cincinnati, Ohio region. No faffing around, no unnecessary chatter, no focusing on that school in Columbus like other shows, just good, honest, local sports happening in Southwest Ohio, Northern Kentucky, and East Central Indiana. Be sure to bookmark cindaypod.com for ways to listen and podcast merchandise. Theme song by Kevin MacLeod on freept.com. Here's your host, Lee W. Mowen. So, what's the big deal with 513? It's not like it's your 513th episode of this podcast. Well, that's the area code of Cincinnati and Southwest Ohio for a long time when Ohio got their area codes back in 1947. In 1996, though, it was the birth of 937 in southwestern Ohio with Dayton, Springfield, parts of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and pretty much Butler, Warren County, the northern-ish of the counties. And now there's also 326, but really, who calls this area the 326? Answer, no one. It's just because 937 ran out of numbers. And when 513 runs out of numbers in Cincinnati and Southwest Ohio, there will be 283. So, yeah. But you can't really celebrate 937 Day, because that'd be the 37th day of September. Nor can you celebrate the other area codes, which I already forgot. But in case you wonder why it's 513 Day, there you go. Happy 513 Day. And now it's time to talk about one of the few 513 teams, the Bengals. Now, yes, I realize we've been talking a lot about the Bengals recently, but this is the schedule episode because it was released last night. From Bengals on Twitter, our New Stripes 2021 tour, no fees on single ticket games. So, if you're interested in going to Paul Brown Stadium, there's no fees on that. You can watch, you could have watched the NFL schedule drop on the NFL Network, but that was yesterday. So, no, you can't, unless someone put it on YouTube or something. So the Bengals and the rest of the NFL are going to play 17 games, meaning there's only 3 preseason games now. And the fun starts on September the 12th at home against Minnesota. There's going to be a lot of LSU Tigers battling on both sides. Of course, there's Justin Jefferson on Minnesota's side. And for Joe Burrow, he's got Jamar Chase. And I'm forgetting the other name of the Tiger, but you get what I'm saying. This should be a good battle. Mike Zimmer coaching against his former employer, the Cincinnati Bengals. I still like Mike Zimmer, but I don't know how truly hot his seat is in Minnesota since the Vikings are, they have to deal with that Aaron Rodgers guy. Although he's pretty angry at the moment, so maybe he won't. I don't know. But Minnesota kicks things off. The Bengals get most of the road games out of the way in the first half before the bye week, which personally, make a nice run at home and see how it goes. So again, home opener against Minnesota to kick off the 2021 season. And then the Bengals visit Chicago on the 19th and Pittsburgh on the 26th. Pittsburgh this early. That is quick. Now, remember, last year was Cleveland and Cincinnati battling early, but this time it's a road trip to Pittsburgh. And then back home for Thursday night football on the 30th against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You might know them as the team that drafted Trevor Lawrence. Also made a silly draft on Etning when they already had a very good running back, but I digress. Oh, also, that racist strength and conditioning coach from Iowa, he got hired by Urban Meyer before everyone started to, make complaints that, hey, he's kind of racist, and then they fired him. So there you go. And yes, there's the news about Tim Tebow, and yes, there's that sports host in Dayton that's making a big fuss about people's opinions because, they're not his, so they're obviously wrong. I don't really have an opinion either way. Yes, he reunites with Urban Meyer in the state of Florida. Just, it'll be interesting to see, especially with a time away from football in minor league baseball. Back home on October the 10th against the Green Bay Packers, and then 3 straight road games for Cincinnati. They'll visit the Detroit Lions on the 17th of October, the Baltimore Ravens on the 24th, and the New York Jets of New York on the 31st. Ooh, spooky game at Meadowdale. Or not Meadowdale, sorry. Is it Meadowdale? It's MetLife Stadium, but you get what I'm saying. Maybe. And then home to face Cleveland November the 7th, and then there's that bye week on the 14th. At Las Vegas on the 21st of November, and then 3 straight at home. Pittsburgh's in town the 28th. The Los Angeles Chargers on the 5th of December, which, by the way, if you haven't seen Los Angeles Chargers video on their schedule, okay, first of all, who gave them word art? Hasn't that program been dead since the early 2000s? And second off, it's hilarious, actually. So I enjoyed it. So go and find that. Trust me, you'll have a laugh. And then home on the 12th against San Francisco and the 49ers. Now, years past, San Francisco, they've been just destroyed with injuries. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's not happening to them again. But classic Super Bowl rematch between the Bengals and San Francisco. At Denver on the 19th of December, home for 2 straight against Baltimore the day after Christmas, or Boxing Day for those that celebrate that in England and Canada. January 2nd, home against Kansas City and the Chiefs, and at the Cleveland Browns, January 9th. It's so weird that the regular season spills into the new year, isn't it? It just feels dirty. I don't know. It just, I don't know. I don't have a good reasoning for it, and I could be off my rocker on that one, but it just feels weird. So there's your home games. Of course, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Baltimore come in, and at Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, home against the Vikings, the Jags, the Packers, the Chargers, 49ers, and the Chiefs. At the Bears, the Lions, the Jets, the Raiders, Broncos, and that is your schedule. Pretty good schedule. I mean, let's break it down. Like I said, Minnesota, they haven't been as strong as people want them to be. That sounds like pretty much every other team, Lee. How about you explain it? Okay. Well, losing Kirk Cousins is there. I was going to say losing Cousins hurt, but I don't know. It's just that team should do a lot better, even without, Stephon Diggs. But again, the Packers have ruled the NFC North for quite some time. If the Bears got their stuff together, they might put in a nice running. I think that defense is still strong with Khalil Mack. The Lions, I think, on the road to possibly building something good. I mean, they took Penei Sewell after everyone said the Bengals were failures for passing on him, and Miami did the same thing. But no, they're better. So, go ahead with your spin there. But I think Coach Campbell, I don't see the, Lions getting to the playoffs this year, but I think the Lions might be on the right track here. But then again, one playoff win in 60-plus years. Of course, the Jets, they're turning over a new leaf. Sam Darnold is now in Carolina. So that'll be interesting to see how that new regime takes over. Las Vegas Raiders, against another team that, should be a lot better than they are, just that never are. And just, I think after that injury to, I'm trying to think of his name. It's not Cook. Carr. Yeah, Derek Carr. He hasn't been the same. That really good year, I think 5 years ago. And once he got hurt, that's kind of been the downward spiral. Of course, having the offensive line, not protect, that doesn't help either, but there you go. Denver's a frustrating case just because of the fact, what are you going to get with them? So, yeah, I am looking at the league. Cleveland, they should be better than last year, which sounds weird because that year was pretty good for Cleveland. I think if they stick to what they did correctly, they should be in for another good year, the Browns. Pittsburgh, it's Ben Roethlisberger's game. He's going the wrong way in the agings. I mean, we look at Tom Brady. We talk all the time about how Tom Brady is just so great and he gets better with age. It's just not happening for Roethlisberger. I mean, the injuries and everything, and the Steelers had to kind of change up their game a little bit. So, we'll see. And that offensive line's a big question mark too. So, hopefully the Bengals have a defense that'll actually, pressure the quarterback. But that seems silly. That seems like, that just seems silly. And the Ravens, I personally think, it's still Ravens. It's just really they need a wide receiving game. Lamar Jackson can't run on his own. He can, but he needs help. He needs to get, what happened to the days where, Baltimore had used their tight ends pretty aggressively, Running game should be fine. Defense is always good in Baltimore. So I think it'll be probably the Ravens, the Browns, Bengals, and Steelers. And I say that just because, I think the Bengals are due for a turnaround. Looking at this schedule, I can't tell you 8-8 because, there's 17 games. I can see us winning Minnesota and Jacksonville. Just really about pressuring Cousins and Lawrence if he's the starter for the Jags. Green Bay is going to be fun to see. Green Bay is always a good team, although the turmoil between their general manager, Gutenost, and Aaron Rodgers, that's been a fun drama to watch. So it's possible the Bengals can win that, but Green Bay's really good. The Bears, I think, that'll be an interesting case to see. Honestly, I think we can beat the Browns. I think we can beat the Steelers. I think, we can beat the Ravens, but Baltimore's had our numbers the last 2 years under Zach Taylor, so, I look at this schedule, and it is pretty tough. I mean, I can't wait to see what the Jets bring to the table. Again, getting away from Adam Gase, the offensive genius of the Jets, and now new quarterback after Sam Darnold got, his talent wasted with them. It'll be interesting to see that. Chargers should be all right. Justin Herbert, he won the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. I still think Burrow would have won it just because Herbert didn't come in until, week 5? Something like that. If he stayed healthy that entire season, I think Burrow would have got that award. But that could just be me being, biased. I think, Burrow would have had the better numbers. And starting that whole season, rookie quarterback going to work for week 1 since. I do worry because now with the 17-week schedule and one less preseason game to worry about, I do worry about Joe Burrow's timeline. Is he going to be available for Minnesota week 1? I hope, but I don't want him to rush it. He's going to be our cornerstone quarterback. We can't have him fault like that. Kansas City, that's going to be a tough one, especially if Mahomes gets offensive line protection like what the Chiefs banked on. San Francisco, again, like I mentioned, it really depends how injured and battered they are coming into this. So it'll be interesting to see. I can see the Bengals winning 10 games. I think 10-7 is a fair assessment. As long as the offensive line keeps Burrow upright, I think the Bengals will be an all right team. Defense, I think, there's plenty of depth, and the Bengals have really spent on that defense. The offensive line, I wish the Bengals would have done more. I don't know if they can do more at this point, but yeah, it's just that offensive line. I hope we don't have the same conversation in the 2022 draft saying, hey, the Bengals should probably fix that offensive line more. I think Carmen will be great. I think Reif will be great at right tackle. No, right guard, excuse me. Tackles on the inside. I think Carman and Reef are nice pieces. I think getting rid of Hart was the right thing to do. So even if the Bengals didn't do any of those moves, getting rid of Hart, excellent. And again, Frank Pollock back. We'll see what his, thing is. There was an article I read about Frank Pollock. I forget if it was on Bengals.com. But it was talking about Frank Pollock's, way of looking at this line. Oh, here it is. Coach Pollock mentioned it's irrelevant what you did last year. This is from Jeff Hobson, the senior writer for Bengals.com. The word has zoomed to the Bengals offensive line via its meetings with new line coach Frank Pollock. And the coach told the guys, everyone gets a clean slate. We're starting everything from day one. It's really irrelevant what you did last year. And that's what every team's approach is. Players, coaches, if you're not looking to prove yourself every day, you're going to be on the outside looking in. So again, I worry about the depth on that offensive line, but I think Pollock will do a nice job, and I think the Bengals are due for a comeback year. The 2021 schedule, again, you can view the video from Bengals on social media, on Twitter, and I really like that throwback feel to it. They honored a lot of the best plays of the series against all 17 opponents. Well, okay, it'd be 14 because, Cleveland, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh twice. But you get what I'm saying. Anyone else upset about Amir Garrett getting suspended for 7 games just for celebrating a strikeout? I mean, seriously? That's Charmin soft. Trademark. Oh, how about that Javier Baez guy? He can just flip someone off and jump the fence trying to start something by leaving the bench. Nah, he's fine. He cool. But no, Amir Garrett, because he celebrated a strikeout, that's 7 games. Yeah, it's obvious MLB doesn't like the Reds doing anything great, so, suspend them. They can't have anything good. Yes, I know, Amir Garrett's suspension went down from 7 to 5 games. I know that, but... Oh, yeah, Baez flipping someone off and Yadier Molina literally grabbing someone's neck doesn't deserve a suspension. Oh, fine. Ooh, he's going to learn his lesson. Yeah, as you can tell, those suspensions, in my eyes, were absolute bull backside. Yeah, but... let's talk about something a little more positive, because I think if I just talk about that all day, that's not really giving you updates, is it? The Cincinnati Reds are 17-17, 1.5 back of a wild card spot, and 3.5 back of first place St. Louis. Cardinals 22-15, Milwaukee 2 games back, 20-17. There's the Reds. Cubs 2 under 500, 17-19, and Pittsburgh at 15-21. Reds took 2 out of 3 at Pittsburgh, dropped the middle one of that match, and a game that Brew Baker dominated, the new Carlisle kid. It's great to see him have that success, and arguably probably the best pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. But the Reds still took 2 out of 3 and currently sitting at 500, 7-10 on the road, with a couple more road games to go. By a couple more, I mean 4 more. As the Reds start a 4-game series at Colorado starting tonight, the 13th of May, at 8:40 Eastern Time, 8:40 for Thursday and Friday, 8:10 Saturday, and 3:10 on Sunday. And then back home for 7, 3 against the Brewers, and then back on the road, 4 against the Giants, then 3 against the Brewers, I should add. But Reds on the road for 4 more. Currently in this road trip, a 3-win, 2-loss trip, splitting the 2 games played at Cleveland. Wade Miley getting the 17th shutout in Reds franchise history, his first of his career, by blanking the Indians 3-0 in a game where the offense would put up those 3 runs all in the 9th, and Clace would take the loss for the Indians. Reds out-hit the Indians 6-0. Both teams commit 2 errors. And that was the second no-no this week in Major League Baseball. And he got a little help, Wade Miley did, from his 4-year-old son, Jeb, who gave him an Incredible Hulk temporary tattoo on his right forearm, which is really, really cute story. I love it. Then the Reds would drop the next game to Cleveland in a game where the Indians realized, oh, hey, we have bats, and they outscored the Reds 9-2. And the Ohio Cup, well, we won't know who's getting that until August the 9th. So we got a little bit. But splitting the 2 games at Cleveland, winning the series at Pittsburgh 2 out of 3, now heading for 4 straight against the Rockies. Just to go back to the standings, currently the Rockies dead last in the West, 13-24. San Francisco is your first place team. Again, they're coming to Cincinnati next week for 4 at 22-14. 21-17, 2 games back, are the Padres of San Diego, the LA Dodgers of LA, 20-17. Arizona, 17-20, with winning 5 out of 6 games against the Reds. And then there's Colorado. This is a Colorado team, not too bad at home, 11-10, but away from Denver, a putrid 2-14. And the Rockies do not come in to Cincinnati in May. We might find that out later if I don't forget. Your starting pitchers for Thursday, Luis Castillo gets bumped up as he's looking for his old form. 1 win, 4 losses, an ERA of a very elevated 6.42, 26K. Going against Chichi Gonzalez, who struggled with the first batters of the innings this year. 16 of the 30 he's faced have reached base. And Gonzalez believes a swing and miss pitch to end long at-bats is the correction he needs. If you look at the previews, Mike Moustakas is 1 for 3 against Chichi Gonzalez. Nick Senzel is 2 for 2. And Eugenio Suarez is 1 for 3 with a home run and 2 RBIs. And Jesse Winker is 0 for 2. That's it. Shogo Akiyama, who is back from his stint with the alternate site. Tucker Barnhart's never faced Chichi Gonzalez. Alex Blandino hasn't. Castellanos hasn't. Farmer, India, Naquin, and Tyler Stevenson have not. On the other side, you have Matt Adams, who is a chilly 1 for 10 against Luis Castillo. Charlie Blackmon, 3 of 6 with 2 RBIs and a home run. Elias Diaz, I believe that is 3 of 8. He's batting .375 against Luis Castillo. Garrett Hampson, 0 for 3. Ryan McMahon, 0 for 2. Trevor Story, 0 for 3. And Raimel Tapia is, what would that be, 4-6 with a home run and an RBI? So that's your batters facing those pitchers. And Reds starting that 4-game series at Colorado. So right now, Colorado is really going through a lot of changes. Breidick, the GM, of course, he let himself go. And really, a lot of people are eyeing Trevor Story. Like, where's the shortstop going next? Because it's obvious that Colorado's probably going to deal him. But we don't know anything on that. Although the Reds were one of 5 teams that would be picked as a better fit for the shortstop. And, I don't know how that would all transfer down just because of the fact, think about it now, you got Suarez that took over shortstop and Kyle Farmer there too. When Suarez isn't the shortstop, he can go back to third, which right now is Moustakas. Joey Votto out for pretty much all May, maybe a little bit of June with that broken thumb. He's out, so who do you put there? Senzel can come in to play second if need be to help alleviate the crowded outfield scene, which that's another thing to talk about as well. Reds have won 6 of the last 10 and currently have scored the most runs in the NL Central at 178. And while giving up 170, that is the most in the NL Central. And not the most in the entire National League. That would go to Colorado's 198. So strike while the iron's hot for Cincinnati against Colorado. And just to look right now, your most runs scored in the NL, that would go to the LA Dodgers. 187 looks like. So there you go. Least, by the way, is not the Reds at 178. Like I said, they lead the NL Central. Looks like the least would be Washington's 113. Oof. Pittsburgh's 125. That's least in the Central. And no, the standings no longer read asshat on the AL West. It's STA. That's a fun word to say, isn't it? Your leaders, AL East, Boston 22-16, the White Sox 21-13, Oakland 23-15, having won 7 of their last 10. The Mets in the East 18-13, a game up on Philadelphia, and the bloated contract of Bryce Harper. I don't need to hear that he's batting over 300. I don't care. St. Louis in the Central, San Fran in the West. So, looking into the stats of Cincinnati, I'm glad I checked that before bringing that up. This Reds team is tied for third in the entire MLB with 48 home runs with the Yankees. Just 3 back of the Blue Jays at 51 and 4 back of the Braves at 52. I am so glad I picked Reds stats here. I do not like the way they have been changing that. So here, let's drag this episode on a little bit further together. Why not? So the Reds so far, I think 17-17, that's not terrible. I mean, that hot stretch that the Reds had, and they got all the way to 4th in the power rankings, that's behind them. But at the same time, we're talking about a Reds team that's batting .248, which in the entire major leagues, that's 5th. That's 2 batting points better than the Minnesota Twins. And only looking up on the White Sox, who have the hottest batting average with the Houston Astros at .262. Boston's hitting .258. The Angels, .254. And there's the Reds. Followed by Minnesota, Washington, Texas, the Dodgers, and Colorado actually in the top 10 at .241. Pitching-wise, as we look through there, well, the Reds are not in the top 10 in wins. Again, just 17. As we're looking at teams for some reason. The Reds would be tied for 18th with Arizona, Atlanta, Chicago, and there's the Reds. However, the Reds are the only non-under 500 team in this category. The Reds 17-17. Diamondbacks 17-20. Braves and Cubs at 17-19. A little weird to see the Braves under 500. I thought they would have had a dynamite year, but I think they're battling injuries for what I'm following along with. Lowest ERA goes to San Diego at 2.82. The Reds, I'm scrolling through, towards the bottom at 4.65. That's not the worst, but it's not far from the worst. The Angels have the highest staff ERA at 5.23. Behind the Reds are the Royals, the Tigers, the Rockies, and the Angels. So let's look at batting averages against. Right now the Braves have the Brewers. I would have been right all those years ago, but the Brewers have the lowest average against pitchers, 207 to be precise. And the Reds are the 13th lowest at 228. That's not bad. The highest would go to the Rockies at 266. So again, the Reds really need to strike while the iron's hot. Let's go to team because I want to see team stats. I guess that is team stats. Let's go to player stats. These stats are not easy. Yes, George Foster. Joe DiMaggio is not on this team. Can you believe it? I certainly can't. I still can't believe that was a thing that was said, but there you go. I want the 2021 season, please. Thank you. Yeah, let's talk about George Foster leading the Red squad, although he probably could, be honest. No, it's Jesse Winker who's got the highest batting average at .375. The dude's having an outstanding year. He and Castellanos, there was a tweet I shared a while back saying that in the entire MLB with wins above replacement, I believe that's what it's short for, pretty much the Reds have the left and right field as the best spots in the entire MLB. That's saying something because Castellanos is batting just .310 on the year. It's great to see him having a great year. 22 RBIs. Tyler Naquin's got 24 RBIs. He's batting .260. He's cooled off a little bit. Nick Senzel's having a not bad year at .263. Joey Votto, he's hurt, but he was batting .226. And Eugenio Suarez has got his batting average up. It's now .156. A lot better than the .133 he was. So he's starting to turn the corner, and his strikeouts are dropping down a bit. I think it was just a timing issue. And really, pretty much he's starting to work through it. So it is interesting to see. So Tyler Stevenson, he's played only 22 games, but he's swatting a .298 batting average, which very impressive. Tucker Barnhart, not bad behind him, .288. So the catchers are putting in a nice stay at the plate as well. Alex Blandino, .265. I mentioned Nick Senzel, .263. Naquin, .260. A couple pitchers in there, batting .250. Mike Moustakas, a little lower on the batting average, but .235. Kyle Farmer, .229. Jonathan India has really cooled off. He's at .208. But I say don't drop him down because he's not going to grow if you just drop him down for having a cool off, Let him figure it out on his own. So let's go to pitching now because I like to talk about the Reds pitching. Wade Miley, after that no-hitter, 4-2, ERA of 2. He's got the most wins, does Wade Miley. Followed by Doolittle and Ryan Hendricks, both at 2-0, although Hendricks' ERA is 8.31. But that's only because, he's only pitched 4 1/3 and given up 4 runs. So don't remember that outing for Ryan Hendricks, but 2-0. Jeff Hoffman, 2-3. Malley, 2-1, which I saw someone argue that he's the ace of the Reds. At this point, Castillo's struggling to get back to his old form. Him or, Sonny Gray, although Sonny Gray did have a rough bout at Pittsburgh. Did not take the loss. He wouldn't have taken the loss. Well, probably wouldn't have taken the loss. But he didn't finish enough to get a win. Lucas Sims, also 2-1. TJ Antone, 1-0. Luis Castillo, 1-4. I believe that's the most losses on the staff. And yes, it is. 4 for Castillo, 3 for Hoffman, and 0-2 for Sonny Gray. Who would figure that Castillo would lead the team in losses? Lowest ERA, well, thanks for that. Let's go to all players. Alex Blandino, and 2 games out of the bullpen. The position player has pitched 1 1/3, scoreless, hitless. He has walked 1, struck out none. Heath Hembry, 7 games in, no runs, no hits, and 7 2/3. He came in to shut the door on Pittsburgh yesterday afternoon. Wade Miley's ERA at 2. That's the lowest for any starter. TJ Antone, 2.41. And Tyler Malley, an even 3 ERA. So, again, 17-17. Reds are still in the thick of things. And I wonder if I can see the wild card from here. Looks like I can at this point. I can tell you that the Reds, again, are 1.5 back. San Diego and Los Angeles Dodgers would have the wild card spots if the season were to end today. The Reds 1.5 back, and they are the closest team to the wild card spot. A game back of the Reds are Atlanta in the wild card race and the Cubs. 3.5 back of wild card spot, Miami. 3 back, Arizona, half game up on the Marlins. 4.5 back, Washington, Pittsburgh, and 7 back, Colorado. So the Reds at May so far, not bad. Could be better, of course, but hey, winning this series against the Chicago Cubs, that was great. And now the Reds will face Colorado for 4 on the road, get San Francisco at home for 4, Milwaukee for 3 at home, and then back on the road to face Washington and the Chicago Cubs. Real quickly to kind of scope through, see when the Colorado Rockies play in Cincinnati. Well, looks like you're going to wait towards the latter portion of the year because Colorado doesn't come in. Okay, that was weird. I looked through the whole thing. Colorado. Interesting, unless I just overlooked it, which that's certainly possible. Looking through July. Don't think the Reds have already played the Rockies. Nope, June 11th, 12th, and 13th in Cincinnati. Have no idea why I passed by that. I swear I looked, but there you go. Reds, Rockies, starting for tonight in Denver, Colorado. Sticking with baseball, it's time to talk about the Dayton Dragons, now in High A Central. And after 8 games, your Dayton Dragons are 5-3, tied for first with Lake County, affiliate of Cleveland, and Lansing, who's now affiliate of Oakland, which is still weird to see. But let's talk about the Dragons. First up, we'll talk about the 2 home games I've worked. I'm working 4 of the 6 this week, tonight and tomorrow, and the Dragons are back on local TV on the CW. That's channel 26, and I don't know about the rest. It's on the Dayton CW. You can find it yourself. But Dayton so far 5-1 at Great Lakes, 0-2 at home against Lansing. The original plan was to have an opening day episode about the Dayton Dragons, but I didn't have enough time to get to it, so we're 2 games in. It is so weird to see the stretches that the Dragons have had to go to get a quarter of Dare Ballpark filled. Now, of course, this year, can't have 100%. Well, you can in Texas and Florida, but enough about that. What I've seen so far, people have been turning out. People miss baseball, and we've had some pretty nice rowdy crowds. And it's nice to hear, people get into the game. No skits between innings, which, now they're played on the video board like the best of series so far. So that's a little bit different. But again, we're not here to talk about the green team. We're here to talk about the Dayton Dragons team. So far, 0-2 against Lansing. And, this is still a quality Dragons team. Like I said, Lansing has always been a thorn in the side of the Dragons. Most of that time was with the Lugnuts being affiliated with the Toronto Blue Jays. And we saw some incredible players like Bo Bichette, Vlad Jr., Rowdy Tellez, who's normally the DH for the Jays. We've seen some pitchers, Marisnik, who's now a Chicago Cub, which is weird to see him bounce around like that. He played with the Lansing Lugnuts. There's been several candidates that made it up to Toronto. I like the way the Blue Jays used their system. It seemed like they were very involved with the process, even as low A. But now the Oakland Athletics, I don't know what's changed with them and everything in terms of how Oakland runs their system. Previous years, they were affiliated with the Beloit Snappers, a team that is getting a new ballpark and hopefully not a new name, although that's been in the talks. A lot of people have come out and say, no, don't change the Snappers. That means something to Beloit, Wisconsin. So, there you go. So, Dayton, coming into the 3rd game of the series against Lansing, they're led with Mario Bautista's .364 batting average. However, I believe he's hurt, if I remember correctly. So he's only played 4 games. Playing most of the games, Brian Ray at 345. And this dude, he continues to rake. 5 home runs, that out home runs several teams. That out homers several teams, rather. And that's tied with a few others. And then there's the South Bend Cubs, who have yet to homer heading into the 9th game. Yikes. But so far, the hitting seems to be doing its job. You got a lot of high averages there. Brent Spillane's a little struggling at 091 thus far in 4 games. Jonathan Williams has only played 1 game and 0 for 2 with a run. But going on top, again, I mentioned Bautista, who I believe is on the IL. Ray, 345. Quentin Cotton, he's played very well in center field. He's batting 310. Quincy McAfee, 304. Eric Yang, a catcher, 304. Miguel Hernandez has really picked it up since starting off the season, I think 0 for 8, 1 for 8. Hernandez now 267. Hurtubise, the speedy guy from Army, 250, along with Michael Ciani's 250. Jose Teo, 207. Francisco Urbeas, 200. Victor Ruiz had a hit last night in the loss. He's now batting 176. James Free, he's 1 for 10. And then there's Spillane at 091 and Willems 0 for 2. So far, I think the Dragons hitting core has done their job. Pitching-wise, well, Lansing has been able to get to the bullpen twice. First game went to extra innings, the home opener, where Dayton fell 9-4, could not get the extra or the man on second home in the bottom of the ninth, whereas Lansing, they could, plus a few more. Currently, your pitchers with no ERAs. Lyon Richardson in 2 starts. He's been very stellar thus far in 8 innings. Braxton Roxby, 3 appearances, yet to give up a run in 4 1/3. Spencer Stockton, 1 game out of the bullpen. He went the long distance route, going no runs, 2 hits in 4 1/3, and 1 win. Eddie Demurius, 3 appearances out of the pen, 4 innings, no runs. J.C. Keys, a win in his only appearance, 1 hit, no runs, 2 1/3. Francis Baguio, 2 innings, no runs, in 2 appearances. Jacques Pichu, I believe that's how the pronunciation guide said it. Pichu, 1 hit, 4 innings, and 2 appearances. He's done quite well for himself. Noah Davis, he had a no-hitter going into the 6th, and his last batter broke it, which that was a little disheartening to see, but he was struggling with command heading towards the second go-around the Lansing lineup. Noah Davis, 2.70 ERA, 2 losses for him. Eduardo Salazar, he gave up his first runs of the year against Lansing. Did not take the loss, however. He gave up 4 runs, 3 of them earned in 10 innings, 2.70 ERA, and 1 win. Johnny Snyder, we have not yet seen him pitch at home. 2 appearances, 4.50 ERA. Graham Ashcraft will get the start tonight against Lansing for Dayton. 4.91 ERA, 1 game started, 2 earned runs and 3 2/3. This is a hard-throwing right-hander. Jake Gilbert, last night, he was touched up a bit. His ERA balloons to 6.75. Carson Lindell had a scoreless appearance last night. His ERA drops to 7.36. Tyler Garby took the loss for Dayton in the first game against Lansing. His ERA went up to 15.43. Ricky Salinas, 21.60 in 1 start. Sam Hellinger had a rough outing last night. His ERA now stands at 23.63. Gave up 4 runs in the loss last night to the Lugnuts. So in terms of how the Dragons are faring hitting-wise in the entire High A Central, formerly the Midwest League. Still hate the fact it's not called the Midwest League. High A Central just sounds so vanilla. This Dragons team still leads A+C at 258. That's what the team hits. Behind them, the Lugnuts, 243. Cedar Rapids, 238. Peoria, 234. Although the Chiefs not having a good year. Must be the pitching. We'll find that out next. And Wisconsin, 231. home runs. Again, remember, Brian Ray with 5. The Dragons have 10. That leads the entire ALC. A plus C. South Bend still yet to hit a home run. Brian Ray is out homering Lake County, Peoria, and West Michigan. Fort Wayne has tied him. Wisconsin, Quad Cities, Great Lakes with 6, along with Cedar Rapids. 7 for the Lugnuts, 8 for Beloit, and 10 home runs for the Dayton Dragons. We've seen back-to-back home runs. Was it back-to-back? I think it was back-to-back on the home opener. Ray and Hernandez and Ray. It might have been just home runs with an out in the middle, I should say. But there you go. Pitching-wise, Lansing currently leads A plus C at 2.47. Lake County not far behind at 2.87. Wisconsin 2.99. Cedar Rapids 3.90. Dayton 3.91 in the top 5 out of 12. Your highest ERA goes to West Michigan. They're at 6.75. Although better than Great Lakes in terms of wins at 3-4 to the Loons 2-6. It's been a rough year for the Loons, a rough start, but remember, we still have about 112 games to go, so it's a marathon, not a sprint. In terms of wins, I mentioned Dayton was tied for first with Lansing and Lake County. Quad Cities and Wisconsin also have 5 wins with Cedar Rapids. Beloit not far behind, 4-4. Fort Wayne 3-4 with West Michigan. Great Lakes, Peoria 2-6. South Bend 2-5. Terms of batting average against staff, Dayton leads that core at 172. That's the lowest. Peoria's got the highest at 2.54. And Lansing is towards the bottom, tied with South Bend at 232. Dragons have been able to get hits, but last night it was not able to get them in was the problem, especially when Basso, the star, was on the mound. There was times where the Dragons got him over to third and still couldn't get him over. And just, if you're going to be a playoff team, you're going to have to battle through that. So we look at tonight's preview, Lugnuts at Dragons. This is, you can watch it on MILB TV, but it's not on local TV. And, of course, there's the radio stations cover it, 980. One of 2 local teams they host. The other one is Miami and the Redhawks. Graham Ashcraft goes against Shohei Tomioka, who has yet to allow an earned run in his 2 wins, 3 strikeouts. Graham Ashcraft struck out 6 in his lone appearance, and none of the batters have faced Tomioka yet. Neither have faced Ashcraft. Remember, this is just the second series of the year. So, it is a lot different to see only 25% of people coming in. And I also found out the last night they do not have the grill for the footlong bratwurst anymore, which makes me sad. That was always a pregame meal. It was literally a pregame meal, but it's okay. I mean, seeing all the social distancing that is required out there, some of the seats roped off, the sellout streak paused this year because, it's not really fair with the coronavirus holding things up. But so far, it is nice to see baseball back at Dayton Ballpark. It's nice to see folks at the Centerfield Flats just watching from the porches and the bleachers there. It is nice to see the Dragons back at home. Again, Lansing in for 4, and then Dayton will travel to South Bend, the only matchup between the Dragons and the Cubs in the regular season. And then back home to face the Quad Cities River Bandits, which I found out they're no longer affiliated with the Houston Astros. It's the Kansas City Royals. So there you go. The Royals now in high AC. But that is your May for the Dayton Dragons. And of course, where do you find updates? Not on Dayton Radio. It's on the local Sunday Sports Podcast. Last up on episode 213, what did the Columbus Crew just do? What is that ugly logo? And why do people hate it so much? Because it's terrible. But, you might be wondering what I'm talking about, unless you're heavily ingrained into MLS in Ohio. I'm talking about the Columbus Crew update and the rebranding. So first up, I like that logo. Yes, I know Anthony Precourt made it, but I liked it. I liked the badge before it because, the Columbus Crew means something to Central Ohio. It's one of the original teams in Major League Soccer. You don't mess with tradition like the way these people have. So this is from SBIsoccer.com, and it's the question of the day on May 10th. Is the Columbus Crew's rebranding a mistake? Yes. I'm sorry I added that part, but I looked through and I've seen out of about 100 comments, maybe one saying they liked it. But I can't tell if they were trolling or not. In fact, Matt Morris, who normally chimes in for Mallin's mailbag questions, which, yeah, I could have done the theme song and everything for that, but nah. But what's my take on the Crew rebrand? Yuck. Yuck, yuck, yuck. And another yuck. So first off, instead of the circular badge, which is pretty popular in soccer, let's not kid ourselves there, it is now a banner with a C that's kind of squinched in there, and then there's a little compass point underneath the C to finish up the other side of the banner, and now it's Columbus SC. So it didn't say Crew in there. Well, yes, it's still technically the Crew, but yeah, I just don't like it. I mean, the Crew means something to Columbus and Ohio. This is something you don't butcher. This is something you don't mess with. No. Bad. Go back. There's a lot of people that hate it, and I, for one, I don't like it. I just don't like it. I mean, so going back to this May 10th article, rather. I was going to say May 10th episode, excuse me, from Gregory Cultibanis. The Columbus Crew announced on Monday that it's changing its name to Columbus SC and plans to use the Crew as the team's nickname. The rebrand comes complete with the new logo I just described. Ugh. I look at it, it's just... I wish I shared it. There was an article from a Facebook page, MLS Memes, and just all the rest of the logos in Major League Soccer with that, and they all look so stupid. Except Minnesota. That actually fit in with the badge quite nicely. FC Cincinnati is just the badge, and then there's that arrow. It's like, what's the point of that? It doesn't represent Columbus, though. It's generic as generic can be. It's almost like a create a team type of logo. Your sports video games, and you want to create your own team to, destroy everyone else. It's like, man, wouldn't it be great if, West Alexandria, Ohio had an MLS team and just took over? Yeah, I know that'll never happen, but you get what I'm saying. You can create your own team, put it wherever you want, and everything like that. So, yeah, this is, it's not great. This is fresh from saving the Crew from relocating to Austin, Texas. Thanks, Precourt. And now the fans are trying to save the Crew once again. I don't think anyone thought that they have to do it twice after saying, hey, listen, no, you're not moving this team to Austin, Texas just because, that's where you want to go. If you want to go there, open up your own team, which that's happened. So apparently, reading further in the article, Chicago Fire's going back to the drawing board for another rebrand in 2022. Yeah, if you look at the Fire's logo, just ugh. I like the old one, with the fire department badge, I like the shield. Yes, I know, not very soccer-like, and what the heck is a Crew, everything like that, but it means something to Columbus. I'm going to vote in this poll from crowdsignal.com in the bottom of the article against it, because that's what I think. Okay, it doesn't tell me how many have voted, but 91.26% are against the rebrand. For it, 8.74%. Again, I don't know the sample size, but my word, that's over 9 out of 10 people that say, no, this sucks. Why did you do this? Just, it's just, no. And what was wrong with that shield in the first place? I know you wanted to get far away from Precourt as possible, but this is not the way to do it. And apparently, watching this Brooklyn bedroom go from drab to fabulous in one something. Oh, because I put in redesign. Ugh. Cool. Thanks for that. So going to the Columbus Dispatch, Chandler Bosey gets the history lesson on why it's called the Crew. Again, one of the first cities to get an MLS team. It's stuck with Columbus since then. And it noted from the team announcement, the theme was reiterated throughout the press conference by the work zone barriers placed around the Mecca nightclub to the meals served in lunch pails. Black and gold was his color scheme for the start, which, yes, the new logo does have black, mostly black, and the outline on the banner is yellow. I think it's a lighter shade, but it's not great. In case you wonder why, or some of the names that were also in consideration. Columbus Eclipse, which the original name was tied to the 1994 solar event with the announcement by the city about season ticket deposits. Sliders, because Columbus-based White Castle and its fans wanted to name the team in tribute to the fast food chain's miniature sandwiches. I like that. Explorers, I like that name. Navigators in here. Evil Squirrels, no. Hooligans, no. Pride, Kickers, that's more Richmond, Virginia. They've had the Kickers name for forever, it seems like. Falcons, And here's some more. You can barf with me on all these. Acorns, Zuts, Alkley Cats, Alkley Cats, Alkley Cats. Is that supposed to just be alley cats? Because I don't know what an Alkley cat is, but Armada, Brushstrokes, Cowtown 11, Convicts. Really? Fighting cows, fighting farmers. This is before historic Crew Stadium was built on the fairgrounds. Come on. Gorillas, Rickenbackers, Sciotos, Socrates, Sons of Heaven, Spirit of Columbus, Wardens Extreme. Yeah, most of those names sucked. Gorillas did get a rise out of me, but thankfully that wasn't chosen. There's a lot of, Columbus, big farming area, which outside Columbus, that's true. I mean, the farm show is just down I-70. I think that's in Madison County, though, by Plain City. So there was a push to move away from the Crew as a standalone monkier, and a rally celebrating the change. Mayor Michael Coleman told the crowd, I don't want to hear you ever call this team again the Crew. Again, the logo, I get the change, but it's so underwhelming. It's bad. And the Nordique is even saying they weren't involved in the rebrand discussions. Although there was another article, I think it was from the Dispatch again, saying that they were there and they'd say This change would be negative to catastrophic. Yeah, it's leaning towards catastrophic. I don't think the fans will never stop loving the Crew. I don't think it'll come to that point. However, yeah, they don't like it. And I don't like it either. It's just so generic. I mean, you can make the argument that, yeah, the previous logo had nothing to do with Ohio except, Columbus Crew SC and 96 in the stripes and the checkerboard. But at least that was a good logo. It celebrated black and gold. This one just doesn't. Columbus Soccer Club. Really? It's the Columbus Crew. Not everything needs to be soccerized like, over in Europe. Okay? Columbus Crew are fine the way they are. And that's not me bashing on, football across the pond. I like that, but it doesn't have to be with the Crew. So the Crew will no longer be on the official team name, because again, it's Columbus SC or Columbus Soccer Club, with the Crew being a nickname that won't appear on the official crest, but will still be seen as a standalone name around the stadium and on merchandise. And we will go ahead and pull up the Respect Your Roots article, which, again, that's mainly fans saying, no, this sucks. No. The FC Cincinnati one, I mean, the old one looked like it was done pretty quickly. Maybe not in paint, but it looked pretty plain. Whereas this one has more detail and everything. Still, it's a weird shape, but hey, it's unique, so I liked it. So this one, I don't like it. No, I don't know how else to tell you that. No, this really sucks. So the fans reacting. Let's scroll on down here. This is another Columbus Dispatch article. This is from Michelle Everhart, and this was published on the 10th of May, updated about 2 hours after that. If Monday morning were a club rebrand, it would be the proposed new Columbus Crew one. Don't do it, says the Kitsman on Twitter. Yeah, don't do it. Ugh. Former Crew player Justin Miram has an opinion. This makes 0.0000 cents. That's still way too much sense, but never mind. The history of this club is what's most important, not another rebrand. Everyone in Columbus loves the Columbus Crew. If fans thought the Chicago Fire rebrand was bad, this is from MLS IST, on Twitter. Chicago Fire, our rebrand was atrocious, and there's no way any MLS club could ever outdo it. Columbus Crew, hold my beer. And going full circle with the photo that one time with the scoreboard catching fire in 2013. Live shot, same from MLS IST. Live shot as the crowd has now gathered to watch the Columbus Crew's Twitter mentions. This is from Crew Be Happy on Twitter. Respect your roots. Hashtag family, not just fans. Crew 96. And that's with 8 players pointing or stretching to the logo. Not everyone thought using the Crew as a nickname was awful. So this is from Our Honor 1870. So they will still be using Crew, just not on the shield. Not my first choice, but it's fine. Be known as Columbus SC, the Crew being a nickname that won't appear on the official crest, but will still be seen as a standalone name around the stadium and on merchandise. So technically, no, it's not, completely gone, but still. This is the Crew. Look at the previous 2 logos. The Crew, Columbus Crew SC. So that's probably the most positive comment on there. Which, that is true, but excited for the Columbus Crew to rebrand as Flavortown Crew from Gregory Van Brett. No. Not even going to dignify that with anything. So, yeah, as you probably can tell, I don't like it. And not a lot of people do either. So, this is going to be interesting to see if they keep it. It's going to be interesting to see, if they go back to the drawing board for another redesign. Or maybe just scrap it all together, because there is a lot of outcry about this change. Yes, technically they're still the Crew, but it's no longer on any of the logos. And this will be the first one in Crew history that doesn't say the Crew. I think it's just a missed opportunity, I get getting away from Precourt, but also remember this. Precourt wanted to change the name to Columbus SC. Remember that. So, are you really getting rid of the bad taste left by Precourt? Or are you just repeating history there? Yes, I know I could be talking about the 2-0 loss to Toronto SC in the Trillium Cup. I know that, but I guess the Save the Crew group is going to have to go to work again saying, hey, this sucks. When someone is telling you this is going to be catastrophic at its worst, you might want to rethink your position there. And that's my whole take on that. I don't know, Cincinnatians are getting a laugh at it just because, yeah. But at the same time, FC Cincinnati, if you could start winning and start acting like an MLS team, that'd be great. I hate saying that, but, I will say this. Fans of FC Cincinnati, they're right up there with the Crew. Yes, I know. The Crew has had a team since 1996. And with, FC Cincinnati being a thing for, what would this be, 6th year altogether? Including USL and MLS timeline. Passion's there at FC Cincinnati. Fans are definitely not the problem. Just right now, how do you get... I still think that, FC Cincinnati is getting players, but, is it really MLS worthy, or are we still playing like we're in the USL? I don't know. That's just me. But I am excited to talk about TQL Stadium and the home opener against Inter Miami. Should be a good one, hopefully. Hopefully FC Cincinnati plays off the emotion from their hometown crowd. And that will do it. That is the 513 episode for episode 213 of the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast. And next time, well, we'll probably talk a little bit more about FC Cincinnati. In fact, let's quickly check. When is that coming up? Cincinnati is one word. Thank you, keyboard. Let's load it up and tell you that I don't want these ads. How do these ads keep popping up? May 16th, so that's a couple days from now. Again, remember, I believe it's on national TV. Inter Miami will come in, looks like 1-2-2. That's a win, 2 losses, 2 draws. And FC Cincinnati, 1 draw, 2 losses, 0-2-1. And the last 2 matches, FC Cincinnati has given up 8 goals. And the last few matches for Inter Miami CF, they've given up 3 goals in the last 2. Held Nashville SC scoreless, though. That's an impressive draw. And also beat Philadelphia Union at home. Also battled hard with LA Galaxy, but that was a loss. And was handed a 2-0 shutout to Club de Foot Montreal. Yeah, I remember what that logo stood for. But again, this will be Sunday, May 16th at 4. I believe it's on TV, although this preview from MSN is not telling me a lick of things. So that will do. We'll probably talk about FC Cincinnati's home opener next week. Reds, Dragons updates, summer baseball getting underway soon, a couple weeks. Can't wait to dive into that and talk some Champion City Kings baseball. And next month we'll start Great Lakes Summer Collegiate League. Yeah, I was right. Dang it, I hate when I do that. Anyway, this is episode 213 of the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast. Thanks for joining me, and we'll talk to you again for the next edition of the local Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast with Lee W. Mowen. Be sure and bookmark CindayPod.com, the official website of the local Cinday Sports Podcast. From there, you can find your favorite way of listening to future episodes on platforms such as Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, TuneIn, Pandora, Spotify, the iHeartRadio app, and more. You can also find the Redbubble and TeePublic shops there too, where all podcast merchandise purchases go to help the podcaster. Follow on social media at CindayPod and Lee W. Mowen on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. This closing theme was created with the Splash app. This is Lee W. Mowen saying thank you again for listening, and we'll talk more local Cincinnati and Dayton, Ohio sports next time.